All right, welcome everyone, and thanks for hanging out with us. I will do my best to let everyone in as they keep coming into Zoom land, but otherwise we are streaming live on Facebook inside of Your Journey with Jennie. I'm excited. Nikki's the only brave soul at this point to hang out with me in person, so I'll just be looking at you, Nikki, the whole time because I feel like I gotta connect, right? So I just started this Ask Me Anything because I wanted to make sure that I was continuing to add value to you guys inside of my group. And also I get these one-off Facebook messages or text or emails where you guys want to pick my brain on different things. Not that I know all things to all things. I've just been around long enough that over time I have kind of accumulated lots of stuff. I said something, Joshua, you'll laugh at this because you're in one of my classes and have taken my classes, that I said we should play a game like, what's in Jennie's Google Drive? Like, somebody throw out a word and we just search and see what we come up with, because that would be hilarious. I got a lot of stuff in there, as you know. So today is about the disc. Nikki actually inspired this. She posted in another group. You said, well, why don't you kind of share like what the struggle was, Nikki, just to kind of throw you on under the bus when you weren't planning on talking. But
yeah,
what inspired this?
So I think a lot of people have the same question of like, what exactly is the disc and how do different personalities differ? Because I think we forget, right? We're not all D's, or we're not all I's, and we're not all S's. And so it's really helpful to understand different personality types to be able to communicate with them. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you're going to share so that we have a better understanding of different personalities.
Well, you're so right. And I have been in real estate for now 20 years. And years and years ago, gosh, it was 2014, I heard about another agent at a mastermind. She said she had just taken this training to become a certified disc instructor. And I was like, what's that? I love the disc. I already was using it in my business and in my life. I mean, if we really like took a minute and thought about, if I knew what I know now when I was younger, with the tools that we have with our company, Keller Williams, back then it was the what was it called? The ABA. Now we've got the KPA and the disc. If we had all these tools in our tool belt when we were younger, I think we would have made different choices in the people maybe we dated or hung out with, or we wouldn't have had our feelings hurt because we would have better understood and understand that communication and how to best communicate. So I took this class with Dr. Abelson. He's a real person. He is the disc assessment that I subscribe to. I pay for an annual subscription. I think it's like $400 or something. You can go on his website and check it out. Because I actually use it all the time when it comes to hiring. So it's still a part of our process. Now you follow whatever process you follow. Of course, we also follow the career visioning plan with Keller Williams, but this is kind of a front end assessment where I can just get a feel for who they are, and then I can have a conversation with them through asking and reading through the assessment and seeing if that's who they really are. Now, the other value besides people in your business is understanding the different different letters of the assessment, because then you can better communicate and build rapport with your clients. And that is what's the most important, because like Nikki said, the majority of the world is not a high D. A lot of us real estate agents is high D. And we'll talk about what each of those letters mean here in just a second. So that's really the key for me, was learning how to show up where they are and be who they need us to be. Because people, when they feel comfortable around us, they trust us. When we're showing up in their style, then they're going to allow us to help them. And a real estate transaction is one of the biggest investments of their life. So we want to show up for them, and that's who we want to be. It really is just so great at teaching us to slow down, stop being our style, and ask great questions to discover theirs. So this even starts over the phone when you first connect with somebody through conversation. You can just ask great questions, lifestyle type questions, even using the forward conversation, your family, your occupation, your recreation, and your dreams. Asking those kinds of questions and then listening to their tonality, their rate of speech, what you can tell fires them up and allows them to dream, also really paints a great picture of who they are and how you can show up for them. So just an overview of the DISC. I'll share my screen because I have this assessment class. It's a presentation for a class that I have. I haven't taught it full on, and today's session is really just, obviously I didn't do a ton of preparation, sorry guys. But I love this snapshot of this screen because I think it really is a good way to look at and understand the different styles. So a D, dominant. And this is your driver person. This is typically, and I'll throw in some stereotypes and generic professions that fit inside of each of these. So a D is a driver. They're direct, decisive. They're a doer. That's lots of us. And they are domineering and demanding. So you see this little line right here. Well, my cursor won't go, but you see that little dotted line. What that means is that the above the lines are really the positives of being a D, and the below the line are really what could be seen by others as not so positives. So we are super great, us high Ds, at getting stuff done, and then other times people could see us as being too bossy and domineering, and maybe I've been called those things in my life, and some others may be able to relate. And then the I, we have a lot of I's in real estate as well, right? Like an I is someone who is influential, inspirational, interactive, and interesting. Now note the ones below the line we can be seen as impulsive and maybe irritating to those who aren't always as happy and positive as the rest of the I's. And so again, you can see there's good and bad of all of these, and understanding who you are really matters, because then you can turn up or turn down what you need to in different situations. Now the S is actually the majority of the population. And I don't know if when it was I just wrote down the numbers recently because we talked about it in one of my classes, and I can't remember exactly. I feel like it's like 74% of the population are S's. So whatever it is, it's way bigger than all the rest. So think about that. A steady, stable, supportive, sincere person. They are also seen as slow and sensitive. So if you can imagine, if you have a high D behavioral style and a high S behavioral style, that there can be conflict there, because they're actually, see how they're across from each other on this circle? That means that they can really drive each other crazy at the same time. And now we know, though, that the C's are compliant, they're cautious, they're careful, they're conscientious, and the not so positive side could be that they come across as condescending and calculating. So let me go back. I didn't necessarily give all of the different job descriptions that I would have seen. So for a D, I would say that these are going to be like your CEOs, your courtroom attorneys, those people that just take charge and get stuff done. They come in and they usually leave a mess behind them. And then we've got the I's, and those will really be, well, lots of real estate agents are high I's because we have to put ourselves out there and enjoy people. I'd also say maybe these could be performers as well. I would see actors be that. And then also an S. I really think of S's as going to be your teachers, even your police officers, and your kind of servant leaders, those people that put themselves out there for others. They're caring and thinking about other people before themselves. You've really got to have a big heart to do those professions. And then you guys know the compliant, the C's. These are our CPAs, our engineers, the ones that, especially in a real estate transaction, they have a hard time moving forward with making a decision until they have all of the data. And this can completely drive some of us bonkers crazy. And if we understand that's who they are, then we show up that way from the beginning for them. We come to the appointment with all of the data. We bring the disclosure with us because we know what's going to please them and make them feel good. And so we prove to them from the beginning that we've got it for them. Now, we just went through all of these, but I think, Nikki, this is kind of what you're wanting to get a snapshot of. So the goal of a high D is to control, to drive, to dominate. They are results oriented. And then, they really want to know what's the bottom line, what's in it for me. And what they fear the most is being taken advantage of and having people waste their time. Maybe some of us can relate to this. And their primary emotion is quick to the emotion. Now, I'm just going through these really quick because I think, you guys might want to see them. And at the same time, we don't have a huge amount of time, but there is value in seeing. Did we go through this? Okay, whatever. You guys got it. The value of the team is that they're to the point, bottom line. They really, really focus on time. For example, let's just talk about inside a real estate transaction. You can tell a high D when all they say is, I don't care about all the details, just tell me the bottom line or get to the point, because my time is of essence for me. And they are always ready to. Now, here's the weaknesses of a D. They have a really hard time with authority. They like to be in control, and they can appear as argumentative, and they dislike routine. I'll share this presentation with you guys if you want it. So I really wasn't going to go through all of these, but I did want to just get to kind of how you best communicate with them. So their expectations are that you show up as a business person. You make efficient use of their time to present your services in terms that will help solve their problems. Now, the I we talked about here, this is a smaller percentage of this is more than the D's, but often they're seen as flamboyant, effervescent, and a people person. Now, something I learned from the time that I had with Dr. Abelson was that, and I'll show you an actual disc. I'll show you my disc here in a minute. And what we have on the disc is what's called an energy line. And when you are above the energy line with different letters, so whenever you have a disc performed, and if anyone wants to take a disc because you haven't done one lately, I'm happy to send one to you. It comes back to me, and then I'll forward it to you. So here's an example of a disc of an amazing person. I mean, I'm just saying, this person is so awesome. Just kidding. I did just retake it, and we just had a team planning day yesterday. And so it's always fun. We have new team members. And so everybody retook their disc, and there were some changes with some of us because some of us hadn't taken it in many, many years. I noticed that my C has come back up a little bit. It used to be down on the ground. And my I and my D have come down a little bit. So let me tell you a little bit about what all this means. Right here is the energy line. And whatever shows up above the energy line is what most people see. We've got an adapted style graph, and we've got a natural style. So your natural style is who you are every day in your heart, with your family, the people that know you and trust you and love you the most. That is what your natural style is. Your adapted is how you show up at work. And so what's really important that I learned from Dr. Abelson is that you want a person's graphs to look very similar in shape. So see how they're really kind of similar. The same letters above, the other letters are similar.
Jenny?
Yeah.
We're not seeing that screen. We're still seeing the high I party people.
Oh, okay.
Slide.
Oh. So you don't know what I'm talking about?
Don't know what to well, kind of, but not really.
Hold on. Thanks.
There we go.
Can you see this?
Yes.
That's weird. Okay, start over. But you got all I said so far. So you can see how my two graphs are real similar in shape, right? And we've got this energy line. So whatever is going to be above the energy line is how you're going to show up to the world. So this is me, and I show up to the world as a high I and a high D. That's how, would you guys agree? Does that sound like me? If you know me. And so what is cool about this is, and we did it as a team. So what we did is we went through the assessment together and we read out loud what our value to the organization was, and then ways to best communicate with me and ways to not communicate with me. So that's a great tool for your team exercise if you'd like to do that, because then as a team, we've got the high Ds, the high Is that are most likely the salespeople. And then we've got the S's and the C's and a little bit of I that's happening in the ops world. And they now understand how best to communicate with each other. Like, they were already feeling it, right? A behavioral style of an agent and a behavioral style of an admin are very different. And if they don't understand and have appreciation for the differences, then they can get very frustrated and hate their work, hate their job, and think, oh my gosh, that agent's such a jerk. I don't want to work with them. So, but the awareness that comes from us sharing it together as a team, and then it translates to your clients, is that high D agent, that high I agent can say, time out, slow down. Let's have a one-on-one together where we can share and connect. And I can tell you, you've heard the seagull method, where you swoop and poop in on your agent, on the admin. So us agents, we're so busy, we're in the field, we're just wild and crazy, and then we swoop in, we dump everything on them, and then we take off again without any conversation, no asking how they're doing. We don't ask them how their family is or what they're doing this weekend, and it makes them feel unloved. So we want to make sure that we are touching them in ways that they really understand what's going on. Now, something else to note for you guys on this graph, and this is just awareness, is the D and the C are task driven. So think about it. A high D driver just wants to tell me what to do and I'll do it. Check it off the list. A high C wants to see all the data and check it off the list. They are task driven. And an I and an S are relationship and people driven. So they want to connect and really understand, and they work best through people. Now, a lot of times people will think that the high I is the social butterfly, the person that just bounces around a party and wants to, chit chat with everybody. And I've actually discovered, and I asked Dr. Abelson this question, I said, I'm a high I, but I do not see myself as a social butterfly. I have to warm up to the group. I'm not going to just jump in. I've gotten more comfortable doing that over the years. However, it's just not natural to me. And see my previous post, I'm an extroverted introvert. I really like being by myself, to tell you the truth. But I want to just kind of take a minute and, ask you guys, when it comes to working with buyers and sellers, I'm going to show you kind of this. This is kind of another view of the graph that relates to those first slides I was showing you. So you can see dominance, influencing, steadiness, and compliance. When it comes to clients, buyers and sellers, when you're asking them questions on the front end about what you do for work, there's your first great question that you ask. What they do for work is usually pretty much in alignment with who they are in their core and who they are in their behavioral style. We tend to end up there. So that's a first super great question. And then, what do you like doing for fun? You're going to get a feeling of what is important to them in their life. And then also another thing would be, when you get to them in person, you're going to feel and sense their behavioral style as well. I remember, and something to point out is that some buyers and sellers partners, some partners inside of your clients, they may be different. You could have a high D spouse and a high S spouse at the same time. And so you, as a real estate professional, has to figure out who is who and then show up for each of them. Like, for example, I remember this happening to me one time. I walk into the home, and this is the sure sign of a high S. The whole house has pictures of family members and vacations and memories and all those things. So it felt warm and fuzzy, cozy. Like you felt the emotion and the love for family when you walked into that house. And the spouse was high D. Like, let's get this done. I want to move. We're done with this house. Now we've got, obviously, in this case, the wife is the high S and the husband's the high D. And she loves her home, all the memories that are in that house. I mean, it's going to be so hard to let go of those memories. And so how do you set yourself up as a professional of bouncing between the two behavioral styles? You have to make one then the other feel really good about the decision. So that is the challenge. And that's probably what us real estate agents feel the most struggle with many times. You know, I remember one time a friend who happened to be a client. I knew him before we worked together, and he's an attorney. And of course, attorneys know everything about real estate. And so, I mean, I don't know anything. I haven't done this forever. And so I remember the feeling. He was pushing me with what he thought was true about the process or the contract or the people or the whatever. And I remember just being so tensed up and giving it back to him. I was prepared, and I knew that it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I went home after that appointment and I collapsed. I was drained, exhausted. And I look back and I realized that I was so exhausted because I was having to be something I wasn't. I had to show up where he was, and that battle wasn't natural for me, and it made me just collapse and drain. So sometimes the other side happens where you know it's a great house. You know that they need to make an offer. You know in this market that houses are moving fast, and they're not there because they need all the data, they need all the details, or they need to think about it or pray about it. Whatever the thing is that, but if you know as a real estate agent, so you've got to get to their place of why they're holding back, and you guys understand the value of setting expectations from the beginning. So with that high C behavioral style, that's going to be, before we go out and look at houses, I want to have a consultation with you, whether it's in person safely or through Zoom. I just want to share with you all the data, because if they don't know you and you just tell them houses are selling fast, they don't trust that that's true. They need to see it and feel it. And that high S, you've got to really get to the why do they want to make a move. This is why the front end consultation is so key in helping people make those decisions, either fast or slow or whatever their pace is. I mean, the truth is right now in our market, like yours, I'm sure, the good houses selling fast, it's crazy, multiple offers. And I get to share with my team, though, that if we're having great upfront expectation setting and conversations, sharing the data, sharing the emotional drivers behind it, and they aren't ready to pull the trigger fast, this may not be your market. And that's what you say to them. This may not be your market. Let's keep an eye on it, but I don't want to keep hurting your feelings or letting you down if this isn't the right time for you to buy, because you're not able to push yourself faster enough to win the deal, because it is a competition right now. So those are just my big overviews and understandings of the DISC. It really does also come with just time of living it. So once you know your style, then you're better able to communicate and build rapport with your clients. And you're going to ask great questions. You're going to be able to push them forward. And then you're just going to like chuckle inside because you're going to know, oh my gosh, such a high C. You know, that's something on our pass the baton form that we have for our team, is when the agent meets with the clients, they pass the baton to the admin and they share what the behavioral style is of each person, because then as a team, we're better able to show up where they are and communicate where they are when it comes to the type of communication that we need to have with them. Give me some questions and we'll dive real quick into some specifics that you guys may have, but that is kind of the overview of all of this. And I'm happy to share that presentation with you.
That Dr. Abelson, is that where you send people to get their disc taken? Is that what you would recommend? Does it give you the full graph, or is it just, because I know I used to do it through Tony Robbins and now they've stopped doing the graph. Now they just say, here are your letters, but it doesn't show you how high you are on each letter.
Yeah, I pay for Dr. Abelson, so you would have to sign up with him to get, and I don't know if he's got shorter, and also it used to be, you know, your market center leadership may have access to different discs. So yeah, I agree that it is important to understand. Like this assessment that I get with Dr. Abelson, I mean, it is so detailed. And then I take those first pages in our interview and a conversation. Like I do this on the front end before I even send them the KPA, because the KPA is an investment of time. Like you need to kind of know that you kind of like them before you just say, hey, take this assessment that'll take an hour of your life. It hurts your brain. And I don't even know if I really like you yet. So I just use the disc as a way to have a conversation. So I would say, hey, so what did you think about taking that assessment? And let's go through it together. I'm going to read it off and you tell me, yes, that sounds just like me. No way, that is not like me. And we're going to mark it up. And that's called validating it. So if the assessment comes back and it's not in alignment, then you also have really important questions to ask yourself. Are they really who they say they are, or were they trying to mess with the assessment? Because I've done enough of these to see that they are usually pretty spot on if people are answering honestly. And when they aren't, you can tell because their lines are all weird and out of whack. So their adapted and their natural are mismatched. And that tells you that either that they are most likely not in the right profession or in the right line of work that is in alignment with their behavioral style. So like Nikki, if I said, Nikki, I'm so excited. I am hiring you to be the transaction coordinator for my team. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, you can do it. You're smart. You'll figure it out. I'll give you all the checklists. And you're like, okay. And you will shoot yourself. You will absolutely die. Like this is not going to be in alignment. And that's what you use this for, whether it's your clients or your team, it's setting them up for success. And whenever we get to allow our clients to be themselves comfortably and knowing that we got them wherever they are in the process or in their behavior, we're going to be okay with it. Like we're going to show up for them. We're going to take that extra long phone call with the high I or the high S because we know they just got to talk it out. They just got to be heard. And then the D or the C, we're going to give them what they want and be done. Give it to them and go because they want the data and they want to research it themselves. So what other questions do you have? Nothing?
There's one in the chat box that says, have you seen any correlation between COVID and the disc profiles?
That is a great question, Kat. Oh my gosh. I think we did yesterday as a team. Nate on my team, I'll call him out. He's been with me for over 4 years. He's always been from the disc. We always saw him as a high I and a high D. And he just took it again, and his high D, he's a high D and a C now. And he said, you know what's weird? And I don't know that it's really showing up here. He said, but with COVID and being okay with being at home and having a switch in me that now I focus on family first, I feel like his D had come down and there was definitely a correlation. I feel like my disc evolved as well. I showed it to you guys. although my I and my D were above the line, they used to be higher above the line. They were more extreme. So what that means is that over time, like over these past years, I've gotten more chill. Maybe I've gotten more systems down, or I'm not as pushed as I used to be, or maybe that relates to COVID. That's a great question. Yeah. Okay, what else, guys? Anything else? I want to make sure that you got some value from just learning a little bit about the DISC. I think it takes time to kind of just figure out who you are, who others are. And another class and a resource for you guys was years ago, I took the language of sales. And back then it was coached by Joel Rico. Now there's some different awesome coaches that teach it. But that is also something that really goes along with the DISC, because it's getting you out of your own way and best allowing you to hear and understand your clients, because then they are going to trust you, and you're going to be able to help them because they're going to feel confident with that. I see another quick question here from Lori. When's the best time to take the DISC? That is a really great question, because I just took it yesterday morning. I was exhausted the night before, and I knew that I needed to take it for our team retreat. And I was like, I'm too tired. I don't want to take it now. And so just like everything, even when you encourage people to take the KPA, I think all assessments and all thinking time should be in the morning. That's when you're going to have the most energy. So I set people up for success. I say, hey, take this when you've had good sleep, you don't have distractions, when you can really put your work hat on. That's what I also recommend. And so whether it's the KPA or the DISC, make sure you're wearing your work hat whenever you're thinking of how you show up in these places. All right, kids. What else? I want to make sure that I have helped you guys with some of this information that I know there's lots of it. Anything else? Feel good? Ready to conquer the world in the DISC? Nikki, I'll send you a link. You can take a DISC. How's that sound?
I would love that. Thank you. I think we already know what I am, though.
I think we do. I think we do. All right, you guys. Well, please, anybody watching that still has more questions that I can dive deeper into, just post in the Facebook group any additional questions, and I'll make sure and share it, and I'll share any resources that I have. Bye now. You guys have a great day. See ya.